All right, today I'm going to be going through three, I would say, fairly easy kind of tips you guys can apply now, especially as submachine gun players. Let's get right into it. And number one is going to be playing by the hip. This is something that I feel like is natural to, like, you know, experienced players. When you're watching the pros or maybe top players, you watch them and you see sometimes they're not always aiming in. You're kind of like, you know, maybe it's a field thing. And I feel like when I've been coaching people, especially from, I'd say, platinum to diamond, around that level, they have fairly decent movement. They're sliding around, stuff like that. But one thing I noticed is that not enough players are playing by the hip. So what does that mean? Well, sometimes what you want to do is you don't actually want to aim down sight. You kind of want to just have your, basically your weapon ready, especially as a jackal, right? A sub. You want to just have your jackal ready and kind of walk around the corner, shoulder and stuff like that. And you're playing for information rather than the kill, okay, in that situation. So I'd say playing by the hip is really good in scenarios where you may not know where someone is. You're maybe trying to find information. Maybe you're shouldering a corner around a, you know, around a corner you're going through, or maybe you're behind like a pillar, for example, and you're just trying to like back away, move left and right. There's certain scenarios where you want to play by the hip and work on your crosshair placement, then aim down sight. You don't want to be aiming down sight and moving because you're going to be a slower target, okay? So I would definitely recommend playing by the hip in those situations. Like I mentioned, shouldering is probably the biggest one, because let's say you're aiming down sight and you're walking around a corner. When you're walking while aiming, you're just going to be slower. You're going to be slower and you're going to get killed by good players. But if you walk around the corner without aiming in and you just kind of in and out, you're going to realize that you're so much faster, they're not going to be able to shoot you. So sometimes if you don't know where someone is, play by the hip, get the information, then get the shots off, okay? Really, really important. I feel like another time where it's really good is like, let's just say, for example, you're pushing someone, right? And you're in like a 50-50 gunfight, and they could come from either the left or the right, and you don't want to fully commit. Sometimes you're better off playing by the hip, kind of having your centering in between the two options, and then kind of just snapping on them, then aiming in. It's just easier, because if you guess wrong, let's just say like on protocol P3, right, there's like that pillar and you see someone go behind there, right, and you're trying to guess where they're coming from, either the left or the right. Obviously you could slide around, but let's just say you get caught off and you know they're going to push you. You're better off playing by the hip and just letting him come towards you. Makes it nice and easy. Another one is like, let's say you're trying to break a hill, for example. As you kind of scout the area, scout the hill, you're going to go left or right, try to find the angle. Make sure you play by the hip just to get the information. And then especially with the jackal, because of how fast the ADS is off your sprinter fire, so as soon as you see someone, you can aim down sight. It's basically instant. You can play by the hip a lot. If you watch someone like Simp or like Neptune, something I really like what they do is the way they play by the hip. Another reason why it's so good, right, is because sometimes you can play by the hip, so you're not aiming down sight, you're kind of walking, and then when you see someone, then you can slide. So you're basically making sure that you use your omni movement later in the gunfight. So let's say you see someone and they've slid at you, right, then you slide, you're basically going to move after them, and it's harder for them. They have to react to your movement. So it's just a really good way, once again, of controlling the fight. Tip number 2. This one I think you have to start doing no matter what level you are. And I see people doing it sometimes, but it's, I would say, one of the most important skills I see from the pro players: repositioning. Repositioning after your gunfights, right? Let's say you kill one person, okay? Your first thought should be to reposition out of there and get to a safer area. That might not necessarily mean move backwards. You might have to move like across the map. So for example, let's say you kill someone, instead of moving forward or backwards, right, you can move left or right and just reposition, go to a different spot. And the best thing I would say is, every time you're in a certain gunfight, like every area of the map, try to have like a general plan of, if I get a kill here, where am I going to go? So for example, let's give a random option like Skyline, right? Let's say Skyline P2, the point 2, and let's say you're holding kitchen, okay? And let's say for the first rotation, you sit at the back right, and you get a kill. They're in their mind, right, they know you're going to be sitting there. So when they come around the corner, they're going to have all their attention onto that corner. So if you're sitting in the same spot, you're going to be more predictable. So what you want to do is, the next time you go kitchen, let's say you get a 2-piece, right, switch to the left corner instead. Now this time, the opponents, when they come past, they're not going to expect that. They're going to think that you're sitting in the same corner, and you're going to be able to use that kind of that information against your opponent, all right? So you want to keep them guessing. It's really, really important. A lot of the times I see people, they get a kill, they're fairly weak, and instead of kind of playing their life, because they got weak, they stop panicking and they move forward. What you don't want to do, right, is you don't want to go into the opponent's kind of team fight while weak, just sliding in and dying straight away. You want them to work for that trade, okay? I'm not saying that you're not going to get traded. There's going to be times where you get a kill and you're going to get traded. That's fine. But let the opponent work for the trade, so that when they go for the trade, your teammates can then get your trade. You see where I'm coming from? Make sure that that kill on you is a difficult kill. And I think that's something that's so important with repositioning, is playing your life, okay? There's certain times where you just being alive in a spot is being annoying to the opponents because all the attention is on you, for example, and in terms of like the enemy setup, it just becomes really difficult to work with. So one thing I want players to work on is repositioning. Let's say you slide counter around a corner, you see someone on a head glitch, and you're like, okay, this isn't a gunfight I should win, just back away. Don't worry, don't have that ego in your head like, oh, I can rip him off. It's just like a dumb way of playing, in my opinion, because you're taking a gunfight that you should not win, and you're just hoping to rip him off. But most of the time, if they're your level, they are going to win that gunfight. So you have to be more disciplined there, okay? And tip number 3 is very similar to tip number 2 in terms of like repositioning, but this is about isolating gunfights, okay? This is more important in terms of the angles you're taking, the approach, the angles you're taking a gunfight. Let's just say we're on Vault P4, okay? And we're trying to break from middle, for example. Don't just slide out of that door, because they could be in about 20 different spots. So what you want to do is before you approach it, kind of just play off angles, kind of just look around, isolate the areas, and just really have a feel for where they could be. So you're looking at the right first, okay, no one's there, now I'm gonna slide backwards, okay, no one's up top, and now you've cleared that side of the map, you can go further. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you're isolating the gunfights. Don't go somewhere where 2 people can look at you at once and you can only fight 1, because you're giving one of them a free kill, okay? So shoulder for information, don't just slide out, use omni movement. So you slide around the corner, back away, you see someone's pre-aiming you, so you know what, I'm gonna go from a different area, reposition, go from a different area, and try to find the gap in the setup. Those are probably the most important things I would say. In terms of how to improve them, what I would say is like, let's say you play rank play, okay? Every single death you have, like, just give yourself a quick feedback. Like, let's just say you die, so right, what did I do? Oh, I slid out without knowing where he was, so by the time I saw him, he already killed me. There was nothing to do with my gun skill. He killed me before I even reacted. I should work on that. Okay, go forward. Next death. Oh, I had to I didn't watch the pinch there. Give yourself a feedback loop every time you die to make yourself realize what you did wrong, and that way it'll help you. And then what you realize is you'll get into the same situation you've previously been in, but because you've now got that experience, you're like, oh, that was the wrong play. And then sometimes you might make it again, you're like, oh, why, I knew it was the wrong play and I still did it. Okay, that's my ego controlling me. I'm not using my brain, I'm using my ego to say, I know this might not be the right play, I'm still going to do it. Okay, next time now, I'm not going to do it. Then you get to that same spot, you're like, right, I failed once, I thought I was better than my ego, I did it again, and I failed again. This time I'm making the right play. And then when you make that right play, you're gonna kind of like get closer to your goal, and then what's gonna happen is you unlock a new situation, and with that new situation, you might make a wrong play then, but at least you progress. Does that make sense? So let's say you're challenging the same head glitch twice, you die. On the 3rd time, you back away, you shoot him and you reposition. At least now you've gone past that level, you've gone past that boss, you're now on the new boss, and the new boss is the next play. And it's just about how many layers, how many levels you can unlock to consistently get to that next point, and that's what it comes down to. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. Those are 3 things, 3 tips to help you guys improve as submachine gun players. The best players in the world, when you watch them, they do this efficiently. I would say with an AR it's very similar, but I feel like it's just a bit more important as a submachine gun because you're kind of up close and personal. So I feel like things like repositioning, playing by the hip, those things I feel like are a little bit more important as a sub, but they're still very important as an AR. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys for another one tomorrow. Peace.